Welcome back to another episode of Orwell's Interceptors. Just realized that this is the 1-year anniversary of when I started this because the Rolex 24-hour race is on again. So that's when that first train wreck of a video launched. In this episode and probably the next couple, I'm going to be looking at addressing some issues on the front end. And the last thing we did was put a YSS shock on the rear, and now I want to address the front end on this bike. And the things I'm going to be addressing specifically in this video is I have some steering head bearings that I know that I want to replace in both this bike and the other one I was looking at. You can just feel it doesn't feel quite right, and I think ultimately I do have a goal of someday bringing this to a track, so that needs to be addressed for sure. The other thing I'm going to be doing in the upcoming ones, since I'm going to be taking the front end, the forks out, wheel off and whatnot, is that I'm going to be looking at putting some Racetech gold valve emulators up front and potentially painting the forks. When we get to the gold valve emulators, there's going to be some fun stuff because of the Honda gimmicky anti-dive, which makes these two unique forks in that only one of them has it, and they are asymmetrical type forks. So I need to get some stuff off of this bike. So this is going to turn out to be a little bit bigger of a job than I thought at first. I got to take the whole headlight assembly off. I know I'm going to be cursing myself that I bought the 3-piece stainless steel brakes instead of just the 2-piece. The 2-piece is so much easier. The 3-piece matches stock, so that's what I wanted to do. But the 3-piece is that whole big bit right in there that holds the horn and the 3-piece connector, and that whole thing's got to come off. If it was just 2 lines, they just go straight down to the calipers and makes it so much easier. But what we got to do according to the manual is we got to remove the front wheel. I'm not doing that yet, but I will take it off. Remove the handlebars. I hung them up here and I just realized that's not even going to work because I got to remove the whole headlight assembly. Remove front fairing, that's already off. Remove the headlight assembly, that's what I didn't realize I was going to have to do, and now it's obvious that you have to do it. Remove the front fairing mounting bracket. Yep, all that's coming off. Ignition switch, I just realized I've only ever got 1 screw in there, so this was always missing one. Remove the fuse cover, I've got that out. Front wheel, yeah, it's coming off. 3-way joint, that's got to come off. Front fender, all this other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's got to come off until we actually get to the steering part, which is loosen the steering stem nut. I'm still a bit of a ways from getting there, but I just wanted to show you and curse myself for buying a 3-piece as opposed to a 2-piece stainless steel brake line set. I've come to very much like this Deoxit D100. Anytime I get a new electrical piece off and I can see the terminals are just not great, it shoots like a shot, and I just put one on each side, and then it kind of just takes away a bunch of that corrosion. And then I got these diamond file things, so once I let that go for a while, just come on here and rough them up. And not that I was having an issue with it, but who knows when I'm going to pull this thing off again, and I don't want to have to do it early just because corrosion on there, so I like this stuff. So cutting back into this, I want to scream, but all I think I can do is laugh at the amount of stuff you have to take off just to get the dash off. On that SV650, I unplugged the wires from the dash. It's like 5 wires, and then I pull it off with 2 bolts. This is going to actually stay put right here for 6 months because I'm never going to figure out how to reroute everything. But I think I finally got it to a point where I could pull out the 1, 2, and then opposite side 3 bolts to pull the front dash off. So here's a situation right now. I'm getting ready to take the front wheel off and then the front forks. That's not difficult. I mean, that's actually pretty straightforward. It was difficult to get to this point. It is giving me a chance to look at everything. I can see I've got my new brake pads in there, and the pistons and everything looks fine. I could see, well, my battery levels are kind of low, so that's another thing I got to check. I should probably rebleed. I just rebled the rear brakes. Probably don't even need to do that, but at this point, might be worth doing. So I'm going to get the front forks and the front wheel off, and then decide if I even want to keep going tonight, because I didn't think it would take this long. I do apologize if you're looking for some type of like how-to on how to do this or something. I'm not qualified to do it. Despite the fact that I've spent a fair amount of time tinkering on this bike and these bikes, I simply don't know all the tips and tricks that go into it that would probably make this go much quicker. Now, anytime you do something, it takes 5 times longer the first time on a motorcycle. I've learned that. you just gotta accept that the first time usually is gonna suck. But there's just, I can't do a how-to on this until I do this the next time, and I'll forget most of this, because the next time I do this is gonna be like 10 years from now. So I'm not qualified to do a how-to on this, because this one's just too damn complicated for me. That one I could do, because even after doing it once, because it's so simple. This one's just a pain in the butt. Okay, this is where the video was basically supposed to start, but it's taken me like 4 hours to get to this point. Granted, I've been cooking chili, well, burning chili, and drinking beer and watching a 24-hour race. But we're only on like step 6, but it's gonna knock out like 4 of these steps at once. We need to loosen the steering nut, remove front forks are already gone, remove the steering stem nut. Okay, we'll get that out real quick. Remove the upper fork bridge, that thing's already gone. Bend down the locking tab, so I'm gonna have to do that, and then we're going to remove the lock nut and lock washer, discard the lock washer, and then we're gonna remove or loosen out the steering nut and pull this thing out. And then you're supposed to have an assistant hold on to this. I don't have an assistant, so we're gonna do this without an assistant. This is loose already. So this was a 30 millimeter, and then there's a washer there. These are not supposed to be loose ball bearings under it. So like if you have I've done this on a Honda CL 350, drop the steering stem, and then the balls shoot everywhere. Supposedly this is some type of caged ball thing, which I've never seen before, but I'm kind of curious about it. So will this just come up? Yes, it will. Oh, it will. Now, I don't have the special tool, and the reason, even if I wanted to finish this tonight, I can't, is because I got it in my head, when I do bend these tabs down from this lock washer, the manual makes it very clear, do not reuse the lock washer. And I was like, you know, I'm just gonna fucking reuse the lock washer. But I'm gonna be also waiting on other parts for the rest of the forks, so I'm gonna order another one of these lock washers and be a good boy and not reuse this one. So I need to get a screwdriver and bend those down now. So I'm gonna do it the other way. The manual does say you can get a screwdriver and a hammer basically to kick that thing around and loosen that up. So that's what I'm gonna do. They do make a special tool, but good for us. They also say you can do it, you know, the caveman way. I'm gonna do it the caveman way. Man, I feel like I could reuse this lock washer. Now I'm gonna not do it. I'm gonna not do it. I'm telling myself that now, that I'm gonna not do it. But I might do it. These might be a little bit tricky. No, see? There's your... Dude, you don't gotta fucking replace that. He's got tons of life. They got one more bend in them, down. Where is my assistant? Where do you get assistance? Well, now we got some loose balls on the top. Fucking radiator guard is in the way. Oh. Just nothing is simple. Okay. Yeah, in my mind, this part of the radiator guard is really stupid. I'm getting rid of it because I can't get it to fit with it on around the steering stem. Look at that. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't need that bit. That bit was stupid from the factory. So I've been at this for a minute trying to figure out what I just did and what I just pulled out. So looking at this side of it, basically, we've got that steering stem nut from the top, and then a lock washer, and then the bridge. Bridge is number 10 over here there. Then there was this piece, which was number 11. They call it a lock washer. I don't know why, but they do. And then they call this one a lock washer. Number 13 here, they call an adjusting nut. And then these 3 here are not going to be reused. This is, they call a dust seal, and then this, they actually count with this as the upper bearing assembly. Now, this is why we are here. That went in like this. this went here. Oh no, so they were spinning a little. Yeah, they're still spinning. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but that's what we want to fix. So these are coming out. I have to pop this race out with a drift from the bottom, and then there's the equivalent on the bottom. I got to pop out that way. The diameter of the upper is smaller than the lower. Yeah, I should mention, there's actually 3 races I have to get rid of. There's a race under here. That race has to come off as well.
There
you go. Unless you need some specific reason to have that pit posse set, $5. Way better. I'm gonna have a heart attack. This is the most insane ending to this freaking 24-hour race. These Porsches are nuts. They almost took out Shank, but Shank got it. Oh, this is nuts. I'm gonna try to work this race off. I started it a little bit just to see if I'd have the right tools. So basically I found a pretty fine chisel. I started it there, but I didn't want to go all the way in because I don't want to damage the stem. So now I'm just going to work it off by going around and hitting the different sides, and hopefully it'll pop off. I could probably use heat or something else to make this easier, but I think I'm already seeing it. I'm just going underneath the dust seal. I put something flat there. I can see it's about to fall off. There it goes. Let's see. Did I do okay? There's no hits. I think I did okay. I'm proud of myself for doing okay. Caveman style. So these bottom ones really don't look too bad, but you had the bottom race there. Then you had the captive ball bearings, and then the top race. I don't see really much scoring. So they probably could have just been re-greased and whatnot, but I'll still go through and put the new ones on. But yeah, that's how that assembly worked. So the bottoms on here looked really good. The uppers didn't look nearly as nice. This one here, you got that race. This one does have some nicks and stuff on it. It's really not that bad, but it's got some nicks. Then go in with this, and then the top race. Yeah, not great, but truly not terrible. But that's how that assembly sat on top. To drive a new bearing on, this is so close to being able to fit whatever size PVC this is, but it's just not big enough, so I'm kind of curious. I know that I could take the old bearing, take a grinder to it, and cut it as a kind of a press, but I want to see if I can make one out of PVC if I cut this bit and then split it down the middle. It's got potential. Maybe. Oh boy. Now it's stuck. Now I need to push a new tapered bearing onto the bottom of this. First thing I have to do is put on a new dust seal on the bottom, then I'll drive the bearing on. I wanted to put the races that I have into the freezer to shrink them so they're easier to put into the stem. But I did pack my bearings and I put these in the freezer too, and now I'm realizing this isn't what I wanted to put in the freezer. I only wanted to put in the races into the freezer. Instead, now I've got to deal with this, which is tighter over the top of it, because I'm an idiot. But that would go there. Then I get my little grease ball here. This part would go down, and that's what's got to get driven over. Is it the outside? No, it might be the... Shit. Do I need the inside to push or the outside? Shit, I might need the inside to push. If I just push the inside, the outside gets dragged with it. Shit, I do need just the inside to push. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to get out the power tools. Alright, fuck it, let's get wild. Taking the other bearing, the old bearing, and cutting it so we can use this as a driver. Okay, we'll wait for that to cool down. I'll link the video where I stole that idea from. So I just went and filed off the burrs from there. So now if I put that on there, that's going to contact the inner race as opposed to the outer race. A piece of PVC I split earlier may not be a total loss. This may actually work for this purpose. All right, now it's time to press the new races into the frame. So these are fresh out of the freezer, and we're gonna do the top one first because it's gonna show better. Some people like to use the old one, slotted as well, to push it in. I actually happen to have this bearing kit that I really haven't used much, and I'm going to use it instead. These are 47 millimeters. I don't want to get my bearing, pusher thing stuck, so 46 sits right around the lip like that. So I can put it into the stem without it getting stuck in the stem. So this race is gonna fit in here, and I've cleaned these up, and because it's been in the freezer, it should be a little bit easier. You could even make it even easier by using a heat gun to heat this area up. I put a light coating of the Lucas grease inside, and this 46, this should be able to, it pushes in. It's not gonna get stuck. So I'm not gonna have to somehow figure out how to finagle it out. So I need this race to go there. And then I'm going to press it in with this bearing thing. And I heard the sound change, just want to make sure. All right. That's where the sound changed, right there. All right, bottom's in. Now it's time to reinstall. So I put that little piece up here, put a little bit more grease on there, and our diagram isn't exactly going to match anymore because we've got different parts, but same concept. So that'll come through. That'll go there. And I didn't think this through because I didn't get that bearing out yet. Put that there. Oh yeah. Look at that jelly bomb. Okay. So this is a part where I'm not going to be able to torque it to the values that they ask for because I don't have the special tool. And even looking at the special tool, there's no way to hook it up to a torque wrench. But 2 pages ahead, they say, refer to table 1. It's like, just put the number. It's 17 to 20 foot-pounds in the end of table 1. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like because I'm going to be hitting this in with the hammer and screwdriver because that's how it came off. But this piece I'm putting on now is, they call it the adjusting nut. And I'm actually not going to be able to finish this whole thing because just today I did order two new lock washers, one for this one and one for the other bike if I ever end up doing it. But I'm going to go through the whole process anyway and just kind of probably destroy that lock washer. Guess I'm going to guess what 17 to 20 foot-pounds looks like on this. This lock washer would go over the top there. We'd come through and then we'll seat. You got to seat the tabs all the way in. And then they also call this a lock washer. This part will come over the top and you thread this all the way down, and then you find a spot where the other 2 tabs on the lock washer we just put before there, you thread them upwards into that one so it keeps the adjustment nut from moving around. Then the fork bridge is going to go on top. That's going to go like so, right there. Then the washer's going to go on like that. And then this nut, which I believe is a 30 millimeter, is going to come on. And you don't want to tighten this thing down to the torque spec yet because you're going to realign this once the forks are back in here. But ultimately, this thing I think got torqued down to 58 to, let's call it 58 to 68 foot-pounds. 58 was the lower end of it. But that's it. So there's new bearings installed. And a ton more stuff I got to do to the front end. But you watched this far. Thanks for watching. I was just cleaning up, and I realized I never put the dust seal on the upper bearing. At least I didn't like install a race upside down or something.